Hey, welcome to the February meeting of Hot Springs Village Audubon Society. I'm Norma Wall, and we're going to have a really good meeting for you this morning because we have a lot of participants. The first participant that we're going to be talking with, or that's going to be talking with you, is Vic Prislipski, and we have a big event coming up this weekend, and Vic's going to tell you all about it and how to participate. Vic?
Good morning. By now you all know that the forecast is just horrible. It looks like we're going to be spending even more time inside than we have this year. But there is a little silver lining to that, and that is you are going to have more action, I believe, at your bird feeders than you've had the whole rest of the year. And I've had tons already, so it's going to get even more, I believe. But the good news is that it corresponds with the Great Backyard Bird Count, which starts on Friday, runs Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And this year we're going to try something special, and that's going to be a contest. So here's what you need to do. Instead of watching reruns of Judge Judy or something like that, keep an eye on your bird feeder and make a list of the species that you see. And you might also want to keep track of the numbers, and the rules for that are the same as with our December bird count, and that is the most of a species that you see at one time is what you count. Okay, so if you see 3 chickadees come to your feeder, and then there's 1 chickadee, then 1 chickadee, then 1 chickadee, you still only count 3, the most that you see at any given time. But anyway, it's the species that we're after here. Here's the contest. You're going to watch your feeders, watch your backyard, and by 7 o'clock that evening, you're going to email Carolyn Minson, who's going to send some more information out to you. For example, her email address. But you're going to email her and let her know how many species that you saw that day. The person with the highest number of species, she's going to contact and get the exact species that you saw. The prize, it's going to be a daily prize, is going to be a bag, a 10-pound bag of sunflower seeds, I believe. Carolyn will go into that. So there'll be 4 prizes for that. The grand prize, the person who gets the most species overall, will get a 20-pound bag of sunflower seeds. So this kind of adds a new dimension to the Great Backyard Bird Count. So we hope you participate in that. I want to talk about the February field trip that I've been promising for more than a year now, the woodcock field trip. It's a kind of a complicated thing. I went through my eBird list from prior years, and usually the woodcock starts showing up around February 9th and 10th. I was out a couple days ago and I didn't see anything. I'm going to go out today if the weather doesn't get much worse and kind of see what's going on. They should be here into early March, so assuming that things fall into place, we are going to do that. It'll be a spur of the moment thing. What I'll do is look at the forecast. There's a little creek that we need to cross, so rain has something to do with it too. So if things fall into place, I will get in touch with Carolyn and send out one of our bird blasts saying that there's going to be a woodcock field trip, and we'll give you the specifics. It's going to be down at Middle Fork Barren, so it's really a short drive. We'll be able to take our own cars. You know, I don't think that there's going to be a crowd of people, but I know there are a lot of people in our Audubon who need a woodcock for their life list, so it's an opportunity to do that. So keep an eye out for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. I don't know if everyone is aware of all of the Bluebird activity that we have here every year, but Miss Kathy is going to talk to you about our program. And Kathy, do we need volunteers this year, or how are we doing?
Good morning. Yes, I'm the chairperson for the Bluebird monitoring program in the village, and what we do, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, we have about 300 Bluebird boxes that we take care of throughout the village, mostly on the golf courses and also around the woodlands and the Coronado Center. And fortunately, I have a full list of monitors for this year. Everybody that was a monitor has decided to come back this year and monitor for me. I also think that I'm going to have a full list of backup monitors. If something should pop up and somebody wants to monitor, you can get in touch with me. My information is on our website, both my phone number and my email address. I have been around to a couple of the golf courses to start checking on boxes, and we seem to be in pretty good shape. My car looks like a lumberyard with Bluebird boxes and baffles because I need to take those with me to the golf courses. And this coming week, or the rest of this week and the coming week, sure doesn't look very conducive to getting out and checking golf courses. So I'm going to be behind schedule, but the paperwork for our monitors will hopefully be sent out to everyone by mid-March at the latest. And I believe that's all I wanted to mention. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kathy. And if you guys haven't tried the Bluebird program before, and you have any interest at all in like zipping around on a golf cart, it's a pretty nice experience. Plus, we don't even have to tell you about the Bluebirds. You know all about that. You know, this has been about as bad of a year as we can think of for the general economy. We've had toilet paper on allocation, hand sanitizer on allocation. Clorox their stock is out the window because of all the things that we're doing. And actually, this is affecting everything from buying automobiles and down to the simplest thing. We do have our birdseed sale is starting today, and because of some of the delays in manufacturing and so forth, we have a few different things that are going on with regard to that we have to comply with. So I'm going to ask Harry to tell us about our birdseed sale. Thank you, Harry.
Well, good morning. I know when you woke up this morning you wondered, where is spring? I know I did. But I'm happy to announce that today our Audubon spring birdseed sale starts. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'm really running short. The birds this fall and winter have really been active at my feeder, and I'm sure at yours. And I'm hopefully that you're ready to replenish that stock and join us for this spring sale. As Norma mentioned, our sale officially starts today, and it will run through March the 15th. And you have an opportunity to, again, select from 4 different of these varieties of seeds. We have the black oil sunflower seed, we have the no mess, no millet, and we have the Supreme blend, which is one of my favorite, and also the sunflower hearts. So those are the 4 that you have to select from. As you see on this slide again, these seeds come directly fresh from the mill, and they are the freshest seed that you're going to find anywhere. They're packaged in both a 10-pound easy carry bag and also a 20-pound bag. And these each have a Ziploc seal on them so that your seeds that you have left in the bag stay fresh. The order form is available on our website right now. Just go to hsvbirds.org and you will find a easy to order form. We accept credit cards. or you can copy the order form and mail it in with your check. Instructions are on that website as to how to process that order. Right now, we're anticipating the delivery of the seeds on April the 2nd and 3rd. That's a Friday and Saturday. And once again, instructions on the delivery site and the times of delivery will be on that website. Again, we want to thank you for your past participation in both our spring sale and our fall sale, and remind you that the profits from these seed sales go to the Hallberg Ecology Camp, which you see on this slide, and it supports scholarships for area kids to attend this camp. Also, profits are used for programs such as you will be seeing later today. So, once again, thank you all for your participation, and happy birding.
Okay. Well, now we come to the program part of our program. Michael Dollar has been our program chair this is our second month with Michael, and he's actually pulled together an extremely good program for us, and I'm going to have him introduce it.
All right, thank you, Norm. I appreciate the introduction. It's been a lot of fun being the program manager for this organization. I want to talk about next month's first before I get into today's presentation. So next month we're having Tana Beasley do a special program on hummingbirds. Well, Tana's in a situation where she doesn't have a whole lot of time and has to stay close to home. So she's invited Norma and I to come and do a videotape her for a special presentation for this organization. So look forward to that for next month in March. Also, I wanted to bring up, I know Vic mentioned watching the bird feeders in backyards instead of Judge Judy. So I've got an alternative to Judge Judy for you. I know with the weather, people will be sitting at home and maybe streaming some movies. And this you can do at night, so it won't interrupt your observation of your bird feeder. But you can probably find these movies. I have 5 of them on your favorite streaming movie sites. And these are about bird watching. The first one is A Birder's Guide to Everything. And this is a story about some teenage boys who are taking this road trip in search of the Labrador duck. So the Labrador duck was last seen in 1878, and it's the first native North American species to bird species to become extinct since the 15th and 16th century, so a long time ago. So they're on this life-changing road trip to find this Labrador duck sighting. This is a 2013 independent film. It's rated PG-13 and will last about an hour and 28 minutes. The next movie, bird-watching movie, and some of you may have seen this starring Jeff Daniels, is Fly Away Home. So this is a story about a young girl whose mom passes away. She goes to live with her dad. There's a lot of conflict there. But they adopt this orphan flock of Canadian geese, and they teach the Canadian geese how to migrate south for the winter using this small, light airplane, which I understand light airplanes are used lots of times in some of these bird interactions. So this is a 1996 film. It's PG rated. It lasts about 1 hour and 50 minutes. That's Fly Away Home. The next one I have is called The Big Year. This is Steve Martin, Jack Black, and Owen Wilson doing a movie about something that you don't hear much about in the birdwatching community. Certainly don't have a movie, but it's centered around the annual North American competition from birders, where they try to see how many different species of birds they can find in 1 year. So it's very interesting insight. It's just a movie. It may not be true, but it sure depicts bird watchers and their real passion for seeing different species of birds. And so this is a 2011 movie. It's PG rated. It's 1 hour and 42 minutes. It's called The Big Year. Our next one is a documentary. So This takes place in Mongolia and follows a 13-year-old girl. It's called the Eagle Huntress. And so they use the golden eagle to help them in hunting. It's been done for generations. Well, she's the first female eagle hunter in like 12 generations, and she's competing in this Golden Eagle Festival. And so she goes out, and you'll get footage of her and her dad out in the mountains and snow-covered mountains hunting for foxes. And there's some drama and stuff there and some excitement in that. And this was released in 2016. It's G-rated, and it's 1 hour and 41 minutes. The next one we have is a recent release on Netflix, January the 27th, and this is based on a true story and comes highly recommended. It's called Penguin Bloom, and it stars Naomi Watts. And this is, like I said, a real-life story of the Bloom family. And Sam Bloom, the main character, Naomi Watts, has a life-changing injury. But she and her family, they found some inspiration from this rescued Australian magpie. And they raise it up from a chick. They dub its name Penguin because of its black and white plumage. So this is highly recommended. It's a 2020 film that was released by Netflix just this January. It's rated for TV 14. It's 1 hour and 35 minutes. So if you find yourself indoors wanting to see a movie, you might check these out. I will say I've only seen one of these 5 movies, so I'd appreciate any feedback. If you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, please let me know. And also appreciate birdwatchinghq.com, a gentleman named Scott, for recommending some of these movies. And you can go to his website and see more. All right, well, that brings me then to our program for today, which I'm very excited about. You'll see in this presentation Virginia Allen, who is the 2021 American Honey Princess, okay? And she prepared this presentation especially for you. She's only been the Honey Princess since January. So I think you will be amazed, and I was mesmerized when I previewed this on how much educational information that you will find out about honeybees. I was just, it just drew me in wave after wave of information, and I found myself knowing a lot more about honeybees. And anyway, I hope you'll like it too. I hope you'll enjoy it, so please click on that and watch that. I want to mention that there are parts where she's showing illustrations and photos, and the volume gets a little low in those parts, so be prepared to kind of turn your volume up during those things, those parts of the video. And questions. So if you have questions, there's 2 ways we can ask those questions from the American Beekeeping Federation. One is you just send your questions to me, and we'll just lump them together, and we'll send them to Virginia, and she can answer those. My email is mldollar@aol.com. The second way is you individually can go to their website, www.buzzingacrossamerica.com. That's buzzingacrossamerica.com. If you put in your question on that website, the honeybee queens will answer those the same day. They answer all their questions on the same day. What I would encourage you to do, visit their website, put in a big thank you to Virginia Allen, Anna Kettlewell, who played a big role in getting this presentation together for us, and also just the American Honey Beekeeping Federation. They provided this wonderful look into the American honeybee. Again, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Virginia Allen, and I am the 2021 American Honey Princess. I've been a beekeeper for 7 years and currently manage 20 hives on my family's farm. I'm originally from Texas, but as a national spokesperson for the American Beekeeping Federation, I travel from coast to coast teaching people like you about the importance of honeybee pollination. The American Beekeeping Federation is a national trade association that represents beekeepers across the United States. There are many beneficial pollinators, but today we will be focusing on honeybees. We will cover life inside the honeybee colony, hive products, pollination, the role of the beekeeper, and how you can help. Before we jump into the main meat of the presentation, we need to lay some groundwork so that we can all start on the same page. There are many different breeds of honeybees, such as Italian, Carniolan, and Africanized, but all produce honey. Africanized bees, while they are more defensive, they are great honey producers, so beekeepers have learned how to work with them. All honeybees are vital because of their role in pollination. Here we can see the honeybee has 3 main body parts: her head, her thorax, and her abdomen. On her head, she has 2 antennae, which have 30,000 receptors on each. With these, she can smell the flowers from a mile away, even though she can't see them yet. She also has 5 eyes. These help her to identify the flowers as she gets closer to the flowers. The large compound eyes allow her to see the large groupings, while the 3 ocelli allow her to see the tiny little details of the flowers. Honeybees see in ultraviolet light, so the flowers look different to them. Since honeybees see in ultraviolet light, they see these nectar guides as they light up like an airport runway. By following these nectar guides, honeybees can pollinate each plant effectively. On their thorax, this is where the wings and their legs attach. Like most insects, honeybees have 6 legs. However, her legs are specialized for her needs. On her front legs, she has a little notch called an antenna cleaner. We'll talk more about that a little later. On her back legs, she has a small concave section, which just means bent in, and that allows her to store the pollen on her back legs as she transports it from the flower back to the hive. Sometimes you might hear this referred to as a pollen basket. The life cycle of the bee depends on what the egg is and how it is treated. For instance, unfertilized eggs will become the males, also known as drones. Fertilized eggs can either become a queen or a worker. The main difference between the two is what they're fed. Workers and drones are fed bee bread, which is a mixture of pollen and nectar, while the queen is fed royal jelly. It's kind of like a high-protein substance that allows her to fully develop as a female, making her the only female egg that can produce fertilized eggs. All bees go through the same development stages. First, they become an egg, and then they move to a larva as they get older, and then a pupa, and finally an adult. Drones take 24 days to develop from egg to adult. Workers take 21 days, and queens take 16 days. Now that we know about the breeds, anatomy, and life cycle of the honeybees, let's open up the hive and meet each bee to discover even more surprising details. A honeybee colony can contain anywhere from 60 to 80,000 bees. And no matter the size, there's only ever one queen bee. She's the only fully developed female, and she is the only one that can lay fertilized eggs. Without her and the presence of fertilized eggs, the hive would collapse. Queen bees can choose whether they want to lay a fertilized or unfertilized egg based on the size of the cell that she finds. Remember, the fertilized eggs will become workers, and the unfertilized eggs will become the drones. If the queen's pheromone is missing or is weak because she is old, the worker bees will also start laying eggs. Since the workers have never been mated, their eggs will all be unfertilized, producing a lot of drones. Workers cannot control their eggs as well as the queen, so they will also lay many eggs in one cell. The overabundance of drone cells and multiple eggs in each cell will quickly indicate to the beekeeper that there's a problem with the queen bee. The queen also has a special pheromone that keeps the hive calm. If the worker bees detect that she's missing because of the absence of the pheromone, they will start feeding the female eggs or the fertilized eggs royal jelly to make new queens, just in case she's missing. The first queen to emerge will seek out the others and destroy all the other queens, establishing herself as the queen bee. Queen bees can be identified because she is the longest bee, and she's also very shiny because she doesn't have much hair. Sometimes beekeepers may put a small paint dot on her so that way we can find her in amongst the entire colony. The drones are the males of the hive. Their only job is to mate with the queen. They don't even have stingers, so they can't help defend the hive from predators. Since they don't contribute to the workforce of the hive, they get kicked out in the wintertime when flowers are scarce and food stores run low. In a colony of thousands of honeybees, there are only a couple hundred drones. They can be identified because they are wider and have more hair than regular worker bees. Here's a quick chart to show the size comparison of the honeybees. Notice that the queen is the longest bee, the drone is the widest, and the workers are rather small. Last but not least are the worker bees. These bees, as their name implies, do all the work. They make up the majority of the hive and are all female. Worker bees live about 4 to 6 weeks. They also have hair all over their body, which helps with pollination, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The worker bee's jobs correlate to her age. The older she is, the more responsibility she gets. From day one, she's tasked with cleaning her room, which is cleaning out the cells, taking out the trash, which might be dead bees or chunks of wax. One time, I was going through my hive doing a routine hive inspection when all of a sudden a leaf dropped out of this tree and fell into my hive. Suddenly, 2 bees came out grasping both ends of the leaf and they flew off in a whirl. I was so surprised to see how quickly the bees were to get on that leaf and take it out of the hive to keep their hive nice and clean. The next job that she'll do is she will feed the baby bees, the brood, also known as larvae. Remember, worker bees and drones get fed bee bread, which is pollen and nectar, while the queen bees get fed royal jelly. As she gets older, she will become a queen attendant. Remember, the queen is so busy laying 2,000 eggs a day that she doesn't even have time to feed or groom herself. This is all left up to the worker bees. The worker bees will groom her, feed her, and even find clean cells for her to lay in. They make sure that she has everything that she needs. As a house bee, she makes the comb structure from beeswax, which the bees make, and then she will add the nectar and pollen that the foragers bring in to these cells as a storage system. This is the bees' pantry. They also store their larvae into this cell system as well. Notice on the bottom picture, there are many different colors of pollen. This hive has a good diversity of food for their diet. At the front of the hive, guard bees stand guard to protect the hive against intruders, such as wasps and mice. Honeybees don't want to sting because their stinger gets ripped out of them when they fly away. However, they are willing to die if it will protect the colony. If you ever get stung, remember the 1 finger rule. Just take your fingernail and scratch out the stinger. That's all you need to do. If a honeybee comes flying around and you're at a picnic or something, she might think you look or smell like a flower. Just stay calm and she'll leave soon enough. Black bears are a common predator of beehives along the East Coast, West Coast, in the Rocky Mountains, and in parts of Alaska. In these areas, beekeepers will often use electric fences to deter the bears. However, bears are really smart. Once they have found a hive's location and taste the honey, they will keep coming back despite the obstacles. Some black bears will climb nearby trees, crawl out on low-hanging branches, and drop straight into the apiary. Skunks are also a predator of the beehive. Skunks are nocturnal and will scratch on the front entrance of the beehive to disturb the bees. As the guard bees come out to investigate the noise, the skunk will turn around and lay her hairy tail on the bee's front porch for the bees to walk out onto. Once the skunk has trapped some bees on her hairy tail, She will pick them off and eat them. One skunk can easily empty an entire colony of honeybees in just one night. Beekeepers may notice a sudden decrease of honeybee population and scratch marks on the front entrance. To discourage this predator, beekeepers may place baled wire fencing or carpet tack at the front entrance. Last but not least are the forager bees. These bees are collecting the food for the hive. They collect both pollen as their protein and nectar as their carbohydrate resource. The foragers transport pollen on their back legs in that concave section in their pollen baskets. Then for the nectar, they add enzymes and dehydrate it in order to make honey. Back at the hive, they'll deposit the nectar into the cells and cap it over with a thin layer of wax once it's thick enough. Now that your mouth is watering, let's talk about the products of the hive. As of 2019, North Dakota is the largest producer of honey in the U.S., producing over 34 million pounds of honey. Honey can be eaten straight out of the hive and doesn't need any processing. Honey is made from the nectar of the flowers that the bees dehydrate and add the enzymes to. There are over 300 unique varieties of honey. Here in Arkansas, the most popular honeys are both pumpkin and white clover. Honey never spoils. Even if it crystallizes, that doesn't mean it went bad. Crystallization is honey's way of preserving itself. If you want to re-liquefy your honey, simply put it into a warm water bath and let it slowly warm up. There's a quick step-by-step video on our YouTube channel called American Honey Queen. There you can also find many different uses of honey, including facial masks and also wound care. There are over 300 unique varieties of honey. It all depends on what flowers the bees gather from. If you want to find honey near you and expand your horizons, look at honeylocator.com for honey near you. There are many different forms that you can buy honey in. You can either do pure liquid honey or you can do straight comb honey. Comb honey is honey still in the wax combs, just as the bees made it. You can actually eat the wax too. Chewing on the wax can help get into the deep crevices of your teeth and pick out the food that might be left behind. Liquid honey has minimal processing. The filters that we use simply strain out the large chunks of beeswax that are knocked loose as a result of the extraction process. When buying honey from the store, check the label. It should be clearly marked as honey, and honey should be the only ingredient, nothing else added. While there is no federal definition of what raw honey is, the National Honey Board defines it as honey as it exists in the hive or by extraction by either straining or filtering the honey. This definition does not have any legal authority, but it is provided to help understand what honey is. Honey does not require pasteurization. The heating that does occur is simply to prevent the honey from crystallizing on the store shelves, which will make it look more attractive to customers. Beeswax has many different uses. Beeswax candles burn cleanly, last longer, and they're dripless. Beeswax can also be used in cosmetics such as makeups, hair care, and also lotions. Beeswax soap bars can help keep your hands lubricated and hydrated throughout the day. Beeswax is also made by the bees. Let's see what that looks like now. Honeybees make beeswax by eating honey and then secreting the tiny wax flakes, which you can see on the right. After chewing on the wax flakes, they can mold them into the hexagon honey shape honeycomb shape that you and I know, and they can form the honeycomb that you can see on the left. When honey gets harvested, we take a hot knife and simply scrape off the wax cappings, as you can see. Pollination is the most important service that honeybees provide us. It is absolutely vital in order for our food production. Pollination happens when pollen from one flower gets transferred to another flower and fertilizes it. Without this fertilization, there would be no food. 1/3 of our food is pollinated by insects, and 80% of that is done by honeybees. Honeybees are great pollinators because of the hair throughout their entire bodies. As worker bees fly through the air moves through the hair, creating a static charge. Once the bees land on the flower, the light pollen granules jump up onto them and cover them. Honeybees even have hair on their eyes. This is where their antenna cleaner comes in. They take that little notch and groom herself and move all of that pollen back to her pollen baskets on her back legs. That's how she transports the pollen back to the hive. Without this vital insect, we wouldn't have foods such as apples, blueberries, or cranberries. Some bee-friendly plants that you can plant are white clover, Indian blanket, black-eyed Susan, sunflowers, Mexican sagebush, and many more. For more information about how you can plant bee-friendly plants, visit Arkansas Living Magazine, Bee Culture Magazine, and contact your county extension office. One crop that is heavily dependent on honeybee pollination is California almonds. Each year, California has to bring in twice the amount of honeybees that are already there in California just for the blooming period of the almonds. But hold on, how can honeybees in Arkansas help pollinate the almonds in California? Honeybees can only fly 1 mile away from their hive. So to answer that question, let's look into the role of the beekeeper. Each year, commercial beekeepers load their colonies onto a semi-truck and transport them from state to state, following the blooms as the seasons change. It's the beekeeper's responsibility to care for the hive and monitor the health of the colony. Without the beekeeper's care and attention, honeybees could not survive against the pests and diseases. Thankfully, because of the hardworking beekeepers and honeybees, we can continue to have fresh food. You can help by planting flowers and contacting your county extension office. They can help you learn a little bit more about the plants that can grow and reproduce in your area that are bee friendly. Whether you're in a city lot or out in the country, there's something you can do. Let's summarize what we've learned today. We learned about the 3 types of bees, the queen, the worker, and the drone. We've learned about hive products from the hive, such as honey and beeswax. If you want to learn more uses for hive products, check out our YouTube channel at American Honey Queen. We also learned about the vital role that honeybees play in pollination and how that helps to produce our food year after year. We also talked about the role of the beekeeper and how beekeepers transport bees from state to state following the blooms. Lastly, we learned a little bit about how you can help by planting flowers and contacting your local county extension office. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you about the different benefits of pollination and how honeybees help produce our food. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on our website at buzzingacrossamerica.com under the Questions tab. Be sure to like our Facebook page to keep up with our activity as well. Thank you and take care.